Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Frank Mularcik, and in this video, we're going to be doing a brief stock analysis on Pepsi stock, ticker symbol PEP. This one is in the consumer staples sector, and I'm sure most of you guys, know what they do, but they pretty much just sell a variety of food and snack brands and beverages. So we're just going to look at some of their brands here because it's pretty astounding actually, how many different brands they own and can profit from. So obviously Pepsi, they got Lay's and Doritos, the big chips there, Mountain Dew, of course, Gatorade, Tropicana, Quaker Oats, Lipton. Those are just some of their top brands. And then also exciting to see they did partner with Starbucks a few years ago, and they now offer these, bottled iced coffees, I guess. And then they have Aquafina. I think they have some other water brands as well. Ruffles, Cheetos, Fritos, Tostitos, all super popular, chips. There's some other different beverages here. And then also I wanted to look at some of these nutrition foods, I guess, because they do have, a fair amount of those that are super popular. I know this like hummus stuff is popular, and this naked drink, I guess, some type of fruit smoothie. I don't think I've ever had them, but I know those types of things are popular. Life Water, this popcorn, a lot of people eat those, Sun Chips, so good to see that they have, some healthy food as well, because that's something a lot of people are interested in, more so than, Pepsi, because some people wouldn't be as interested in that, And then looking just at their food in general, obviously the chips, but they have, the pretzels, and I know some people are really into these Miss Vicky's chips, Cracker Jack, and beef jerky, Funyuns. Those are pretty popular. Captain Crunch, they even have cereal, Rice-A-Roni, Pasta-Roni. So it's just amazing how many different brands they own, and how many different types of products they sell, that pretty much everyone, I would say, is interested in some of these products, and probably consumes some of these products on a regular basis. So it's just good to see that they have such a wide variety of products and can really, cater to a lot of different people. So we also want to look, at the financials. So we're going to look at the second quarter 2021 results here. And we can see from the end of June, basically it's from the end of June 2021. So net revenues around $19 billion for the quarter, and that's up last year, second quarter is around $16 billion, so up a decent amount there. And then cost of sales obviously is going to be up a little bit as well, but you can see gross profit there over $10 billion this quarter, and it was just under $9 billion last year, so that's good to see. Operating profit around $3 billion, and right here net income of around $2.4 billion compared to 1.7 last year, so pretty nice increase there. Definitely would be hoping for an increase just because of more recovery from COVID. Obviously there's some fears of that coming back a little bit, but overall there's definitely been a lot of recovery, and earnings per share around $1.71 this quarter compared to last year of $1.19. And then also we can look down here. They have the balance sheet, I believe. I always like looking at that. So right now, current assets are sitting right around $21.5 billion, which is down about $1.5 billion from last year of $23 billion. Or at least this is actually from the end of 2020. And most of that difference is from this cash, So this is something I've noticed with a lot of companies, is that they were, kind of not stacking cash, but just had a little bit more cash about a year ago than they do now, because they were trying to be a little bit more safe as to how far they would have to, play out this pandemic, I think. So now that they, kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel some, they're willing to use some of that cash up and have a little bit less cash on hand. So I don't think that's too big of a concern. However, you can see down here that their current liabilities are around $23.5 billion, which is pretty much right in line with what it was last year. So if we look at it from that perspective, their current ratio is a little bit less than 1, which is not the best to see. And if you guys aren't aware, current ratio basically is the total current assets divided by the total current liabilities. So in this case, there's a little bit less total current assets than current liabilities, so that's why that ratio is less than 1. But total assets sitting around $92 billion, which is just astounding how much capital that is, obviously. And then total liabilities around $77 billion. And that leaves shareholder equity here around $15 billion, which is up about $1.5 billion, almost $2 billion from just last December. So that is definitely good to see. And also, we're going to take a look at the dividends, of course. So currently, their dividend yield is right around 2.75%, which is a payout of around $4.30 a year. Payout ratio right now is sitting right around 70%, which is pretty healthy. It does give them a bit of room to grow the dividend at a decent rate. And as we can see right now, their 5-year dividend growth rate is around 7.5%. And obviously, Pepsi's one of their big competitors, at least in the drink space, would be Coca-Cola. And I know Coca-Cola's dividend growth rate is definitely a little bit lower. I think it's closer to 5%. So that's definitely one of the advantages with Pepsi. Another one of the advantages I would say is just their diversification. Like I said at the beginning, of all those different products. And obviously at some point, sometimes depending on the company, that could not be a good thing because they get stretched out too thin. But I think Pepsi is doing a great job of that. And we can also, another exciting thing here is they have dividend growth of 49 years. I'm not sure if they got into that 50-year mark or not quite yet. Sometimes Seeking Alpha isn't, quite exactly spot on. So regardless, I think they will probably get there and attain that dividend king status pretty soon, within the next year or so, if they have not already. So that's pretty exciting to see as well. Another thing we want to be aware of is, the PE ratio and some valuation metrics, or at least we want to be aware of some valuation metrics, and one of those is the PE ratio. So that's what we're going to look at. And as you can see, right now the PE ratio is sitting around at 26.5, which is a lot higher than it was in 2019. They had a huge jump in earnings at the beginning of 2019, end of 2018 there. Then those dropped off a little bit at the beginning of 2020 again. So that PE ratio went up. But overall, throughout the 2008, 2014, 2015 range, they were trading, around 11, 12, 14, 15, 16 PE ratio. So right now they're definitely a lot higher than that at around 26. But overall, most of the market, I would say, is higher than that. And then looking at the overall sector, they are in the consumer defensive or consumer staples sector, whatever you want to call that. So they're pretty much within this beverages, non-alcoholic industry. Maybe you could argue they're in the consumer packaged goods, but I think they definitely have more revenue, from their beverages. So we'll put them in that industry. And you can see as a whole, the consumer staples sector has an average PE of around 26. And like we saw, Pepsi is right around 26, while the average for this sector is around 25. So Pepsi is definitely a little bit above that, but if we look at the non-alcoholic beverages industry there, it's around 30. So from that perspective, Pepsi may be a little bit undervalued. It's really hard to tell sometimes, just looking at PE ratio. Obviously, it's not the absolute best metric, but we also can, look at the, stock price chart and just try to get a good idea, or a little bit of an idea where we're at over time. So looking here, this is about the past 9 months for Pepsi. And you can see right around this June, July region, they really had, a little bit of a jump here to more around the 150 range, and then they've been trading up and down around there since then. They were, back in the 140s, and then, way back in March there, just 6 months ago, they were in the 130, 129 range, which I was definitely buying some Pepsi stock for my brother at that point, in the 130s and below. That was a great time for me to be buying. Right now, I would say it's not the best time. If you're looking to start a position, it might not be bad, but I think if you probably already have a pretty decent position and you're trying to get, a pretty good deal on it, it's probably not the best. But I do think Pepsi is a great company, and one that I definitely want to add to my own dividend portfolio at some point. It's just a matter of getting it at the right price, and, whenever I am able to contribute and, start adding different positions in my portfolio. We can look a little bit further out for the chart there, and you can see, that 130 range or 128, 129 range is pretty solid support there, sort of. And it's really not likely, or I wouldn't say it's not likely that it'll go below that, but, it really, over the past few years, it has not gone below that general level very much. Obviously, in the March of 2020, it dropped way below that to around $100 a share. But that was obviously a little bit of a market crash there. But it is good to see that it recovered rather quickly. That shows a lot of strength. And and resilience with the company. I know Coca-Cola really did not recover that quickly at all. It's taken a long time, and I don't think it's really recovered from pre-COVID levels quite yet. So that's one of the things. Just shows the strength of Pepsi and kind of the enthusiasm, I guess, investors have about the company, which, you know, can be good because it makes your shares more valuable if you already own them. But if you do not own them, then it's more difficult to buy in. So overall, I think Pepsi is a fairly good price, not the absolute best, but personally, I won't be buying here. But I would definitely not fault anyone for buying this stock, because overall they are a great company to own for the long term, and I think anyone that, you know, wanted to own the company would probably do pretty well with them. So let me know if you guys do own Pepsi. I know it's a favorite among a lot of dividend investors, so I'd like to hear any, you know, specific information you'd want to share or suggest to me, because that would be greatly valued. So thank you for watching this video. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.